SGA is having a all-time great season, and I would say easily he is the biggest reason to why OKC has the best record in the league at 62-12. It looks like they're going to be 63-12 pretty soon. They're up against Chicago by 34 points, but he's the biggest reason why they're having a historic run, and he's having a historical season. Right now, he's averaging, I'm just going to pull it up. He is averaging 30, let's see how much, 32.9 points per game. Oh, and 52% shooting from the field, which is insane. Just to keep a reference point, Michael Jordan during his championship seasons never averaged more than 32.6 points per game, which he did during the 1993 season. That was the highest he averaged during the Bulls championship runs. Key phrase, championship runs. Jordan's highest scoring season outside the championship runs was 37.1 points per game. But I just wanted to keep in perspective that when it comes to playing winning basketball, SGA is scoring a ridiculous amount of points, even compared to Michael Jordan when he was playing winning basketball. Just he's slightly edging him out in that regard. Granted, I know a lot of people will say that, well, if Jordan played this era, he would be averaging, I don't know, 40 points per game. And I could definitely believe that because you look at Jordan's era, just the pace of the game was slower. Just there were less points per possession. So you could definitely make that argument. But I just wanted to point out just how great SGA is, that his numbers are just as good as Jordan's numbers during the Bulls championship years, which is just ridiculous. It's very impressive. And another interesting thing about SGA, he's going to end up being one of several players to average 30 or more points for 3 consecutive seasons. The guys who have done it is Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Harden, Bob McAdoo, and Elgin Baylor. So these are guys who are able to score 30 or more per game for 3 straight seasons. That means they did it for 3 years in a row or more. So SGA is going to join these guys by the end of the season. He's definitely going to get that record. That's a elite company to be in. If you look at all these guys, they ended up winning championships except for James Harden. That's the ironic thing. Bob McAdoo, I believe he ended up winning a championship on the Showtime Lakers. So that shows you that he's in a elite company, and it's a good sign if you're a Thunder fan that he's probably going to get them at least one title. I think he has a high chance of achieving that, but just to be mentioned with these guys, it's just legendary. I think all these guys also won a league MVP. I think Bob McAdoo also won league MVP once during his run in his career. So that's impressive. Another sign, SGA will probably get the MVP. But I would say one thing about SGA that I'm impressed with is that it's not just the scoring, it's like his efficiency that's very impressive. Like you just look at just for this year, he's shooting 52% overall from the field, and he's scoring 32.9 points per game. That's amazing. Those are great numbers. I would say that SGA is having like the best scoring season for a shooting guard since Michael Jordan. Just there's no comparison. If you just look at just like the last 30 some years, you see all these great guards that have come into the league, but nobody has been as efficient as SGA outside of the great Michael Jordan. Just look at a guy like even Kobe Bryant. I know Kobe Bryant's highest scoring season is higher than SGA's. Like SGA's averaging 32.9, which is the highest he's ever scored per game in his career, while Kobe had his season averaging 35.4 points per game. And you're probably thinking like, well, that's even better than SGA. But then you got to look at his field goal percentage. Kobe was shooting 45. Granted, it's impressive to score that much, but he wasn't as efficient as SGA. SGA is taking better shots than Kobe ever did. Kobe, despite being a great scorer, would take a lot of stupid shots that would make him inefficient. He'll take shots when he had like 3 guys guarding him. instead of making the right play and actually playing winning basketball. SGA is scoring nearly as much as Kobe did during that 05-06 season, but he's winning games. His team has already won more than 60 games. So that means he's found a way to win and score at a high level, which is something very few guys have ever been able to do, to score that many points and still win a ton of games. That's very difficult when you look at it from a historic perspective. There's just not many guys who can pull that off. I'm trying to think of any guys who've done that in the last 30 years, because you look at even James Harden. Granted, his teams were winning when he was in Houston, but they didn't win a championship. And on top of that, James wasn't as efficient as SGA, because you look at James' efficiency during that run where he was having 3 straight years of averaging 30 or more points. He never shot above 45. The highest field goal percentage he got was 44.9%. So that shows you SGA just has it. He has that special stuff that he's able to dominate games with his scoring at just a ridiculously high efficiency. It's not easy to achieve that. Like, you look at a lot of guys who've been able to average 30 points a game, but not many can have that type of efficiency as SGA is having. Just that's what really impresses me about his numbers. You know, when you look at it, just it's ridiculous. And you just look at even LeBron when he was in his prime, when he was averaging 30 points, he was only able to do that on 48% shooting. Granted, he had it season a few years ago where he was averaging 30.3 per game on 52%, but still, not even LeBron could average as many points per game as SGA. Just that's just another side of how great of a scorer SGA is, that these historically dominant players were never able to equal his average amount of points per game. Very few can do it. When you look at that list, the great Shaquille O'Neal, it's interesting, never averaged 30 points a game. The highest he ever did was 29.7. So this shows you how great of a scorer SGA is. I'm trying to look at if there's anybody in the last 30 years who's had an efficient season scoring 30 or more points like SGA has. I think Wade might have had one season where he averaged 30 or more, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Dwayne Wade had a season where he averaged 30.2 points per game, and he did on 49% shooting, which is pretty damn good. But just, again, it shows you SGA just on another level. I just wanted to bring it up to just illustrate just historically what a great season SGA is, and people should appreciate it. I know some people will say he gets too many free throws from flopping and whatnot. That's one thing I don't enjoy about his game, but I still think you could appreciate what he's doing. Just you look at what he's doing is historical. I think even with the amount of free throw attempts he's getting, which I looked it up right now, he's only averaging 8.1 free throw attempts. That's still a lot less than James Harden, I believe, when Harden was leading the league and scoring back in his prime. Let me just look at Harden if I can pull him up. This is a comparison. I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, Harden was averaging even more than that. Harden was averaging 10.1 free throw attempts one year, 11 the next, 11.8. So SGA is still averaging a lot less. And if you look at just what Michael Jordan was averaging per game when it came to free throw attempts during his era, I'm just looking at it. During the championship years, when the Bulls won their first championship in 91, he was averaging 8.2 free throw attempts per game. The next 2 seasons during the first three-peat, he was averaging 7.4, 7.3. When he came back to playing basketball, he was averaging 8 free throw attempts per game during the first title, during the second three-peat. And then the fifth title run, he averaged 7 free throw attempts per game. And then the last title run, 8.8. Which goes to show you SGA is getting the same amount of free throws as other legends did in the past. And it's not an insane amount, despite what people are saying with his flopping and whatnot. It's not that out of control when you look at the list of other guys, how many free throw attempts they've been getting per game throughout their career. I'm just going down a list. You look at even prime LeBron when he won his league MVP in Cleveland, just his last league MVP, he was averaging 10.2 free throw attempts per game. During his first MVP run, 9.4, still more free throw attempts than SGA. I just want to throw this out there just to illustrate that SGA is not solely relying on free throws to score his points. He's just that damn good. He's amazing. And I just wanted to illustrate that just by talking about it, that people should appreciate what he's doing, because not many guys in NBA history have been able to dominate the game scoring wise like the way SGA is doing. And it shouldn't be overshadowed. It should be more talked about, but not many people are talking about it. This is why I would say that if he gets MVP over Jokic, I think it's very deserving. And I say this as someone who's a huge fan of Jokic. Jokic is my favorite player currently in the league, but if SGA gets it, he definitely deserves it. I just can't hate on it. He's just been so damn efficient. But that's all I had to say.